Hi, this is another Comfy video. This time we're looking at controlling the level of detail using noise in an injection of noise at different stages to increase the level of detail in the image. So this is the workflow, and I'll run through it from start to finish, and then we'll do one so you can watch it go wrong in real time. So our image going in is so. I apologise to whoever I swiped it off on the web, although I've messed with it quite a lot. And I've written a prompt, which isn't very complicated at all. So I want a wooden guard, and I've just described roughly what I want, and we'll always see how that turns out. I've got a couple of LoRa's in. One is to make it a painted style, which is Eldritch Digital Art. The other is NV Streamline, which in this case will hardly have an effect, but it tends to smooth things off a little bit. So this is often a little bit too rough and ready for me, but the NV Streamline just smooths things off. So here we come to the exciting bit. Fairly exciting. Depends on your ideal of excitement, really. So this is where we're making a noisy image to blend in with our main generation, our main process. So what's happening is our image is going in here, and this is making a patch of noise that's roughly based on this image. So the noise this makes bears some relationship to the original image down here because it's made from it. You can mess about with these. I haven't needed to really. I do put it on fixed, so otherwise it constantly starts new generations. And then we mix that with a single generation, a single step. So we're just creating a single step of noise. So see, we're only going one step, denoise 44. You need all the seeds fixed here. So we're mixing noise in two ways. So we've got a noise generator up here, which is making random noise. Controller generator is fixed. And this goes into an add noise, which is adding noise directly into the latent image. So here's the latent from the encode going into here. Then noise is being added, and then that latent with the extra noise is being run into the sampler, and that produces, after one step, this image ready to have the image to noise laid over the top of it with the blend. And this produces the noise that would be going on for the other 8 steps or 9 steps, but we've taken it out of the system here and turned it into this image. So this is how it looks after one step only, and we mix that with the image we've made from here. And the reason to do that is that I want to control how much detail this creates. So this makes this noisy image here, as you see, and then we don't mix that in the image, we mix it with a latent blend. And the latent blend mixes the latent of the original image. So if I was doing straight image to image, it would come in this route. So we're taking the latent that's coming in that you would normally pipe straight into here, and we are blending it with the latent made from this image. So we're re-encoding this image here, and that's encoding, and then we're blending the two together 50%. And the way this works is I put a note here. 0 means you get a lot of change. 1 means one means this won't have an effect at all. It'll be all just straight image to image. So if you had 1, it's the equivalent of doing straight image to image, and if you have 0, then dramatic things happen. I will demonstrate that by running it in a moment. But then between, so I didn't show you the image, no, it's very clever. So we get this rather nice image, which is looking very hopeful, and I never miss an opportunity to do a little bit of an adjustment. I wanted the whole thing a little bit cooler, so all we've done is cool it down a bit, and it's been bumped up in size for the refine. So it's going to 1.5. And then we inject noise again. Slightly simpler this time. This time we're mixing only the latent, and we're doing 2 steps. So it's a little bit more detailed, and this will add finer details. Once again, I put this in at lower levels. So we've only got a denoise of 25 here, because we've got quite a good image. So if this image was a bit rough and ready, I would up the denoise maybe to 35. The noised images change fairly easily. They don't need terribly high denoises. So we're doing 1 generation, and this produces a latent. So it's the same thing, rinse and repeat, except here the blend is 70, which means that the blend is having less an effect. I want to put in small details here, and this is the result. So what this last pass has done is put the veins in the leaves and little tiny things like that. It's made it a little bit less stylized, but I quite like that mix. I think it's rather nice. And then here I've actually taken it out and done a couple of edits in Photoshop. I thought this image here was a little bit dark, so I just lightened the face a bit in Photoshop and loaded the image back in again. So that's gone on to the refine, and as you see, the refine has slightly taken the edge off it, which I rather like. It's made the beard rather nice and taken it away from reality a little bit. Maybe a bit too much on the moustache there. We'll have to get rid of that. But generally that's crisped everything up and made it very nice and clean. And then I always find that the tiled upscaler softens things off a bit, which in some ways I like, but in this I think it needs to be quite crisp. So I've done a double upscale using a model which just tightens up all the edges. And that's it, that's the run. So what I'll do is to put these nodes to never, and we'll have a look at what changing these settings does. So the setting we're going to change, the very first one and the key one, this is the one you want to play with really, this and the denoises. So I'm going to take this down to 0.3, okay? And we'll look at what effect that has. Bring this up. So we'll run that. And there you saw the change, and you see that the image has become a little bit more hard-edged and a lot more detail. We'll just put the old previous image beside it. Let's get them so we can compare nicely. So you can see what the change has had. This has all become a little bit more fragmented. There's a little bit more going on in all the decorative bits. So it's all become a little bit more decorated. It especially shows up in his headgear. So let's have a look at it one stage further on. So what we'll do, we'll take the blend factor down a bit to 25, and we'll up the denoise to 50. Well, we go mad. We'll go to 55. This will probably produce something horrible, but never mind. And you need to keep the 2 denoises the same. I have found this. If you have the denoises different, and you have to have the seeds the same as well. If you have a different seed, then the 2 noises don't match. So we'll run that and see what happens there. And here he is. And now we've got a tremendous change. Isn't he good? And the detail has gone bonkers. Bring the previous one up. And as you see, that has really made a huge change. So you can control this quite nicely. We'll take that one on and do the refine. So seeing as we're being over the top, we can increase the levels here as well. So we'll go up to 30 on the denoise, because everyone knows that less isn't more really. More is more every single time. And we'll lower the blend factor. We don't want to go as low as we did before, but we'll go, well, we'll go 55. And we'll see what happens there. So we'll cue that. So here's that back, and as you see, that has gone completely over the top. But the trouble is, of course, if you put the settings too high, we've had a reduction in quality here. But that is actually quite easy to fix. So what we do is to load this image back in again, and then we'll throw that into the color correct here, and we'll desaturate it a bit, and then we'll put it back in again. though when you do this, you have to remember to do one thing. You need to change the seed. So just by one, both seeds the same. And then reduce these, the blend factor could go up to 8. Denoise could go right down to 25, perhaps even 20. We'll put it through at 20. Remember to change the seed though, otherwise the image will come out burnt. Okay, and we should be able to run that again. Just check we're getting the image coming out of the right bit. That all looks good. We're not resizing it again. I do that sometimes and it just takes forever. Okay. So here's that back, and as you see, we have our lovely detail and we have our quality back as well. There you go. Now I would probably do a few Photoshop edits on this before I send it on. Got googly eye. He likes a googly eye. But not much else that's wrong actually. Pretty nice. And I think that'll upscale quite nicely. Okay, so this is one way of using this flow, and I'll very quickly run through another way, which is to add detail to an existing generation you've made. So you've made a generation that is you're quite happy with, but you'd like to give it a little bit more action. So what we'll do, we'll load in an image that we're already quite happy with, but we'd like a little more detail in. Okay, so here we have an image which we're going to add some more mad detail to. It's already quite detailed, but it's going to be more detailed than this. So I've made a few changes. We don't need to run the first part because we've already got our image. So we start at the second part, at the refinement part. I've taken the prompt which made the original image, which is here, and I put in the LoRa's that made it as well. So we'll turn this off briefly to see what the, and I nearly made a mistake there. It's got to go through the upscale. Okay, so we can go off on the gamma a bit too much. That looks nice. A bit colder than that. That's nice. So that's the image we're sending on. Now these settings, maybe, I think they're about right. So we'll go up to denoise 30, and remember they have to be both the same. Otherwise the two latents, when they mix together, they don't match properly. So you can experiment with that. You might get lucky. You never know. And our blend factor is going to go down to 0.65. I know. Well, maybe not. Oh, we'll go wild. 60. Okay, that looks good. Do a quick check around. Remember, they're very important. These two noise seeds remain the same. So okay, we'll put that through the washing machine. So there we go. That's back and cooked. And the original is over here on the right, and the other one is over here. And as you see, absolutely everything has got a new blizzard of detail. So if we want to mix our two together, the two together, you can do a mask in Comfy and composite, but I just go into Photoshop, and if we drop the one over the other, it'll be a pretty much perfect fit. We put a mask on it, invert the mask, and with a brush we can paint in complexity. There we go. Isn't that fun? Bit of complexity down there. Bit of complexity. There you go. Bit more complicated there. The complicated version of this should really have a bit of a refine. It should go through again, but I think you can see what we can do. There we are. Complexity. And it'll always fit perfectly, of course. Okay, I think that's the detailing covered. So I will put a workflow below for you to have a play yourself. And I hope that was fun and interesting. Thank you very much.